The best of the morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, preparing you for a better week ahead. We should be careful to focus on life while death rages all around us. We're constantly bombarded with death since this coronavirus pandemic began. I know someone who last week received death notices about 12 times. And last week, 2 women who brought delight to my life passed away. Death in Haiti's earthquake, death in floods in major American cities, mass executions, perhaps even genocide in Ethiopia's Tigray region, suicide bombing and executions in Afghanistan, and of course, Americans' favorite pastime that killed 4,000 people each month of 2020 with the 23 million firearms that they purchased that year to add to the millions they already own. 2 days ago, the world paused to remember the 2,977 souls who perished on 9/11 20 years ago, and the thousands more who perished from related residual harm. And yet, we must be very careful to keep our focus on life despite all this death. Lettice Ross was my high school choir director, with whom I worked more years out of school than in school as her choir's pianist. Lettice strove for excellence and got exactly that out of the scrappiest voices she could recruit around the school campus. Our choirs, soloists, and ensembles won competition after competition in music festivals, even though there was one episode where a certain male trio was the only entrant but placed third. But that's a different story. Lettice poured her life into her students, possessed with an impatient streak of perfectionism in which all her choristers knew that her bark was worse than her bite. She was a delightful, wonderful person. It is that pouring out of her life into others that made Lettice Ross's life one that was well lived. Now, death is a certainty. Sometimes I chuckle at folks who pray for miracles when illness strikes, whose totality of prayer requests relate only to illness and surgeries as though nothing else matters. I ask myself, don't these folks realize it's only a postponement of the inevitable they seek, and quite often don't get? Call me cynical, but if we're eventually going to die, why not pray for people to live more responsibly in the world, especially when the ones for whom we desire prolonged life aren't pouring their lives meaningfully into others, but instead are just making life pure hell for others? Well, now that I suppose you have heard this, you probably might never ask me to pray for you when you become ill. Look, before my time expires, and I mean this episode, not my demise, here's a couple of things about life well lived. You gotta love the many episodes of Jesus as teacher, whether or not you're a Jesus person. One time Jesus asked his disciples, tell me, whom are people saying that I am? And followed it up with the other question, whom do you say that I am? To the uninitiated, Jesus could be misunderstood as self-focused, conceited, even narcissistic. But it wasn't that. His questions probed his friends' focus and purpose as he prepared to teach them the commanding value of service and sacrifice over against self-seeking glory, privilege, and posturing. The lessons are these. 1. Life well lived does not promote self. It always elevates others. 2. Life well lived is not about who you think you are, but whom you are meant to be to others. And 3. Life well lived does not hang on to self. It hangs on to the ideal of serving others in community as though one's life is piece of a human puzzle, wherein the puzzle, the community, is incomplete without your piece, and your piece, are useless when disconnected from the rest of the puzzle. This nonsense overtaking the world wherein some folks think the world revolves around them, their power, their wills, their religion, their values, their choice, and their freedom is dangerous folly that shall defeat humankind. That self-focused folly has made powerful and greedy liars who live life badly deny, for an example, global warming as our fault, causing Mother Nature to rebel against humans with floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, extreme heat, and fires. And you know full well that Mother Nature never loses those fights. And the more we deny science, the more she wins, and the more we die. I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again next week. Happy Monday all the way to Friday.